So I did want to start a new segment today. It's called it's called Missing and Murdered. Unfortunately, this one was really short, and it may turn out to be a short on YouTube rather than a full-length video. So, let's just jump into it. Jeannie Mill, formerly Deanna Myrtle, was an early defector from the People's Temple organized by Jim Jones. With her husband Elmer Myrtle, she co-founded the Concerned Relatives of People's Temple Members, a lot of words, organization. In 1977, Mills was murdered in 1980 along with her husband and one of her daughters in a killing which remains unsolved. Jeannie Mills, her husband Al, and her children joined the People's Temple in 1969. As Deanna and Elmer Myrtle, Jeannie served as head of the temple's publications office, while Al was the official photographer. The couple left the temple with their 5 children in 1974 after Jones beat their daughter Linda 70 times with a paddle for a minor infraction. The family legally changed their names to void the power of attorney they had earlier given Jones. Woo. After her defection, Mills published a memoir called 6 Years with God, Life Inside Reverend Jim Jones' People's Temple, and established the Berkeley Human Freedom Center with her husband. She later co-founded the Concerned Relatives of People's Temple Members, a support group for temple defectors and their families. The Concerned Relatives eventually persuaded U.S. Representative Leo Ryan to undertake a fact-finding mission to the temple's Jonestown settlement in Guyana, which ultimately led to Ryan's murder and the mass murder-suicide at Jonestown on November 18th of 1978. After the killings, the Mills family initially holed up with other defectors in the protective custody of a police SWAT team, but eventually decided to resume normal life. Mills, along with her husband Al and their 15-year-old daughter Daphne, were murdered execution-style inside their home in Berkeley, California on February 26, 1980, just over a year after the Jonestown massacre. Their 17-year-old Eddie was home at the time but was left unharmed. There was no forced entry, and burglary was quickly ruled out as a motive. Eddie claimed he was unaware that the killings had even taken place, even though police found gunshot residue on his hands. So there's definitely been some speculation that Eddie was the one who committed the murders. Aside from the gunshot residue, though, from what I understand, they couldn't find any evidence that he was a part of it or that he had anything to do with it. I would like to think that he did not kill his whole family, but it does happen. And sometimes, even if you're away from the cult for a significant amount of time, that still affects you and it becomes part of your everyday life. So, I don't know. I would like to think that he didn't do it, but I also am a true crime buff who knows that things like this happen. The Mills murders raised the fear that temple hit squads, former members out to avenge the Jonestown deaths, were involved. The theory was never substantiated. With no leads, the investigation was eventually shelved and the case went cold. In 2005, police re-interviewed several surviving members of the Mills family. On December 3, 2005, 43-year-old Eddie Mills was arrested at San Francisco International Airport after returning to the U.S. for the first time in several years. However, the Alameda County District Attorney's Office declined to file charges, citing a lack of evidence. Eddie Mills returned to Japan, where he lives with his wife and 2 kids. The Mills murders remain unsolved, and Eddie has not made any petitions or anything to get this murder solved. So that's, like I said, this was a really short one, so it probably will end up in YouTube Shorts because they like to do that when I don't want them to. But, yeah, it was, like, I mean, it's sad to think that you escaped from, like, one of the worst cults ever. One of, because there's, like, 4 of them that are pretty bad, that I've heard of. You know, Manson family and, Waco and, the ones that believed in aliens. Heaven's Gate, I think it was called. And also probably, honestly, Latter-day Saints has kind of become a cult, and so is Scientology. But, yeah, so there are, like, some bad ones, but, like, it's sad to think that you survived such an atrocious cult to end up getting murdered for helping people to get out of said cult. And why was it, like, just a year after, like, just over a year after the anniversary of the Jonestown suicides? Which is what it was. It was a mass suicide. It wasn't a homicide. It wasn't a mass shooting. it was suicide. Every one of the people who died at Jonestown drank this drink willingly. And I mean, I'm sure if they hadn't, they probably would have been killed anyway. Let's just be honest about it. It's classified as a mass suicide because that's what it is. And there's nobody who can argue that it wasn't a mass suicide. There's nobody left from that particular time that can say that they were forced into this or whatever. And it is sad too that the people that they went in, when Leo Ryan went in, he did intend to leave with some people who did not want to kill themselves, essentially, and that's why they were gunned down. And it is unfortunate because, honestly, if people want to leave, let people leave. Like, but I understand that's not how a cult works. And I do understand that. I'm not saying anything. I just wish they had just let them leave and it had been the end of it. And then they could have done whatever they were going to do. But most of this was caused by a psychotic break in Jim Jones, and it should never have gotten to this point. I think a lot of the people who participated towards the end and agreed to do the mass suicide were either scared or convinced that if they didn't, then they were going to be arrested. I don't really know. I don't know the whole speech that he gave them, but it is unfortunate that so many people died. And some were just children, like babies, little children. Like, how do you as a parent willingly feed your child cyanide? But then again, like I said, I am a true crime buff, so I have seen children who have murdered their whole families. I've seen family annihilators. I've seen moms who went off the deep end. I've seen it all. And I've covered it all. But yeah, I really struggle with, for some reason I've always struggled with Jim Jones and what he did, because it was so many people that, like, and he didn't care. He didn't care about any of these people. I'm honestly surprised that he didn't have them all commit suicide and then he lived. But I guess he didn't want to be at the risk of being charged with something, so he's like, nah, I'll kick the bucket too, and that way, it's over. They can't say I did anything because there's nobody to prove that I did anything. But that one little fact right there did surprise me, because I feel like cult leaders would be like, I'm God and nothing can harm me and I don't owe you people anything type deal. Like Charles Manson. Charles Manson swore up and down that he had nothing to do with the murders, because technically he did not. He did not actually shoot or kill or stab or maim anybody. But he told his people to do it, and these people followed him blindly and did it. So, well, he did not actually commit murder. He was the reason the murders were committed, if that makes sense. But anyway, that's the story that I found. I hope these get a little bit longer as I get, like, into different years. But some of them are really short, but some of them I really want to cover too, because I'm like, that sounds interesting. Anyway, with that being said, be cautiously kind to others, don't do anything I wouldn't do, and make good choices. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye!